Paul, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us today. As you know, USTA South Carolina consistently looks to the tennis community to nominate outstanding members, players, programs, providers, and facilities deserving of recognition. This year, we've collectively faced a year unlike any other, and our members have stepped up more than ever before. Paul, we are pleased to present you with a 2020 Regional Recognition Award for your leadership at every level of USTA South Carolina. You have been keenly focused on creating a new NJTL in Florence, are actively involved with the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee, and an instrumental member of the Advocacy Task Force. So on behalf of USTA South Carolina, I'm proud to present you the 2020 Regional Recognition Award.
Thank you very much, James. That's quite an honor, and I certainly appreciate it.
Well, I regret that I'm not there to give it to you in person, and hopefully we'll get this behind us at some point, and we can certainly do so.
Well, I regret that too. You're always welcome in Florence, and we have a spare bedroom, so we'd love to have you here when you feel safe.
Well, thank you. Can you tell us about some of the programs and projects that have been going on in Florence and some of the things you've initiated?
Well, just in general, Florence is back to league play. We are going to have a couple of tournaments coming up, and we're seeing lower numbers, but things are building back up. Obviously, a lot of players, particularly older folks, are probably still a little leery of things, but we're hoping that we'll have tennis at full speed pretty soon. I'm going to pause for a minute and see if my wife gets that phone. She did. Okay. The things that I've got working specifically include naming a court for Ron James, who was one of our outstanding tennis pros here, worked for the FTA and worked for the city, was an African-American gentleman who was absolutely amazing with kids. He did an awful lot of work for us pro bono, did a lot of work for the community pro bono. He died, unfortunately, just over a year ago, and it's taken a while to get the city's approval, but we're going to be naming a court, the one right next to our building at the tennis center, in his honor. And we're planning to do that during an event called the Polar Bear Tournament, which we run every December to solicit toys for Tots. So that's one thing that I'm proud of, that we finally got that through the city, through the Bruce and Lee Foundation, and we've got the sign ready, and we're ready to put it on the fence. Another thing I'm working on is a youth program. It occurred to me that we have here in Florence all of the elements of an NJTL. We just didn't have them in that package. We have an after-school program run by the city. They have 4 after-school centers, each of them with up to 30 kids who come from schools that are certainly in the poorer neighborhoods in town. We have a tennis center with certified pros on staff. I found that the after-school centers have transportation. So what we're going to do, and we're hoping to start in January, we want to make sure that the schools are going to stay open, the tennis center is going to stay open, and the parents are going to have some faith in us with respect to COVID. But we're going to basically run an after-school program that will combine the city's after-school efforts, where they do some educational support, the tennis center, where we can teach tennis, transportation from the after-school programs, and leadership from the Florence Tennis Association. Of course, that's a 501c3, so we'll have all the makings of an NJTL. I've talked to folks at NJTL at the National Foundation, and they assure me we're going to have everything we need, and we'll be ready to put in an application for NJTL member status sometime in 2021. I've also set up a local fundraising committee, and so far we have a $5,000 grant from the South Carolina Patrons Foundation. We have another $5,000 pledged by a local donor. We're actively soliciting other people. Our goal is to make sure this is not one of those programs that gets started and then fades when grant money runs out. So we're trying to build up a reserve that will sustain us over the years with this, and give us the core funding to ask for more. So that's what we're hoping for. It all looks very promising. As I say, we would have started it already if it had not been for COVID.
Right.
But we do want to make sure that once we start it, it's going to be able to fly without hindrance.
Well, that is just fabulous. And those are, perfect examples of why you're so deserving of this award. I mean, you just continually go above and beyond anybody else and do things that are meaningful and that make change and provide opportunities to get kids on court and people on court and honor those who have done the right thing. So,
well, let's wait and see how it works out first, James.
Yes, sir.
But we're certainly hoping for the best, and it looks like things are moving well.
Good. Well, you can count on USDA South Carolina to support that as well.
Well, I just heard from a couple of people who are helping fundraise today. We've got some good prospects, and we're trying to set up interviews and that type of thing. So hopefully it will work well for us.
Good. Well, people may not know, but you're also most recently on the National NJTL Committee. You've served as chairman of the Major Gifts Committee of the Southern Tennis Patrons Foundation, and you've also just been nominated and will be inducted into the South Carolina Tennis Patrons Foundation Hall of Fame this year. So having all of these recognitions, I mean, what do these awards mean to you and your dedication to tennis?
Well, of course, these awards mean a great deal to me. I guess they symbolize the time and effort I put in. But frankly, the time and effort has been fun, and that's much more important. I just hope that maybe I've inspired a few people along the line to become active volunteers and to really dig into it and realize what a great vehicle we have in tennis for doing a lot for society. I know we've had a couple of successes with people in Florence that I brought into the game in terms of creating good volunteers. And I'm hoping there are a lot more that I don't even know about who've come in through the Florence programs. But tennis is just a super way of improving our society every day. And that's what it's all about. It does, recognition is great, but the work is fun.
Well, everybody that gets these type of awards has one common trait, and it certainly comes through with you, and that's humility. It's everybody says that it's not about them and not the recognition is great, but they're doing the work for the good of the game and the good of humanity, and you certainly do that. And so applaud your efforts.
Well, I think that's really the only way to look at it. There are probably lots of other ways to get your name in the paper. You don't have to get totally immersed in tennis, but there's no place where you'll find better people to work with, better opportunities to really do good work, and a chance to feel good about putting something back into society and back into a game you really care about.
Yes, sir. Well, is there anything else you would like to add before we wrap up?
Well, thank you again, and thanks to the awards committee. And you really don't have to give me any awards because I think I'm pretty much addicted. But I do appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing everybody in person when we can finally get back to that.